What if I told you that your entire future is waiting for one decision you keep postponing? Not tomorrow, not next year. One decision made today can divide your life into two completely different stories. Most people spend their lives searching for the secret that will finally change everything. They chase opportunities, wait for the perfect moment, blame difficult circumstances, or hope that one day luck will choose them. They believe transformation arrives from the outside, as though life is waiting to hand them permission to become extraordinary. But the greatest changes in history have never begun with perfect conditions. They have always begun with a decision made in an ordinary moment. Every remarkable life reaches a point where one person quietly says, "Enough. Enough excuses, enough fear, enough waiting for someone else to solve a problem that belongs to them." The world rarely notices that moment because nothing visible has changed. The same room remains. The same challenges still exist. The same people continue living around them. Yet internally, everything is different. A new identity has been born long before anyone else can see it. Human psychology teaches us something remarkable. Before your behavior changes, your identity must change. People often try to transform their lives by changing only their actions. They promise themselves they will work harder, become more disciplined, wake up earlier, or stop bad habits. But these changes rarely last because they are fighting against an identity that remains the same. A person who still believes they are weak will eventually return to weakness. A person who secretly believes they are a victim will continue finding evidence that the world is against them. Lasting transformation never begins with what you do. It begins with who you decide to become. This is why one decision carries extraordinary power. The decision is not simply choosing a new goal. It is choosing a new identity. It is deciding that your past will no longer define your future. It is refusing to let old failures become permanent labels. The moment you stop introducing yourself to life through yesterday's mistakes, you create space for tomorrow's possibilities. Many people underestimate the power of this inner commitment because they expect immediate external results. They make one decision and expect life to instantly reward them. When nothing changes after a few days, they assume the decision was meaningless. But real transformation always begins beneath the surface. Just as a seed develops roots before anyone sees a tree, the invisible decision comes first. Visible success follows later. Think about every person you admire. Long before they became successful, respected, or influential, they experienced a private moment where they refused to remain the person they had been. Nobody applauded them. Nobody guaranteed success. They simply reached a point where staying the same became more painful than changing. That single decision quietly redirected every future choice they would make. The greatest prison is not failure. It is believing that your current identity is permanent. The moment you decide that you are capable of becoming more than your past, your thinking changes, your habits begin changing, your standards rise, your actions slowly align with the person you have chosen to become. The world eventually notices what started as a silent decision inside your own mind. Because the life you dream about does not begin when your circumstances change. It begins the moment you decide that you will. Once you make the decision to become a different person, another obstacle immediately appears. It is not failure. It is not a lack of talent. It is waiting. Waiting until you feel more confident. Waiting until life becomes easier. Waiting until you have more money, more knowledge, more support, or the perfect opportunity. The mind has an extraordinary ability to convince you that tomorrow is a better day to begin than today. Yet tomorrow has quietly stolen more dreams than failure ever has. Human psychology naturally seeks certainty before action. The unknown feels uncomfortable because the brain interprets uncertainty as danger. This is why people spend years preparing for a life they never actually start living. They read another book, watch another video, make another plan, and tell themselves they are getting ready. In reality, preparation slowly becomes procrastination wearing the disguise of responsibility. The greatest illusion is believing that confidence comes before action. Most people refuse to begin because they do not feel ready. But confidence has never been the starting point. It has always been the reward for taking action despite uncertainty. A child does not learn to walk because they already know how. They learn by falling, standing again, and continuing forward. Every step they take creates the confidence needed for the next one. Think about every opportunity you have ever missed. It probably did not disappear because you lacked ability. It disappeared because hesitation quietly replaced courage. While you were waiting for certainty, someone else acted with imperfect knowledge. They were not fearless. They simply understood that progress belongs to those willing to move before they feel completely prepared. The mind often creates imaginary conditions for success. It says, "I will start when everything feels right." But life has never promised perfect conditions. There will always be another reason to delay, another obstacle to solve, another excuse that sounds completely reasonable. If you continue negotiating with fear, fear will continue making your decisions for you. Extraordinary people are not those who experience less doubt. They simply refuse to let doubt become their leader. They understand that action creates clarity. Every step forward teaches something that endless thinking never could. The road becomes visible only after you begin walking it. There is another truth many people avoid. Waiting feels safe because it protects you from immediate disappointment. If you never begin, you never have to face the possibility of failure. But hidden inside that temporary comfort is a much greater danger. Years pass, opportunities disappear, potential slowly fades into regret. One day you realize that the greatest pain is not failing. It is wondering what your life could have become if you had only started. Real transformation begins the moment you stop asking whether the timing is perfect and start asking whether your future is worth the risk of being uncomfortable today. Every meaningful achievement demands courage before it offers certainty. Every worthwhile journey begins before the destination is visible. The people who change their lives are rarely the ones who waited for fear to disappear. They are the ones who decided that their dreams were more important than their excuses. They understood that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision that something else matters more, because the perfect moment you are waiting for does not exist. The moment you choose to begin is the one that changes everything. Once you stop waiting for the perfect moment, another truth quietly reveals itself. Most people believe their lives are shaped by a few extraordinary decisions, a new career, a major opportunity, or a single life-changing event. But reality is far less dramatic. Your future is not built by one unforgettable moment. It is built by the small choices you repeat every single day. Destiny is not created in rare moments of inspiration. It is created in ordinary moments of discipline. Human psychology is deeply influenced by repetition. Every action you perform again and again slowly becomes part of your identity. The first time you wake up early, it feels difficult. The 10th time, it feels familiar. The 100th time, it becomes part of who you are. The same principle works in every area of life. Every habit, whether helpful or harmful, quietly shapes the person you are becoming. This is why people often underestimate the power of small decisions. Skipping one workout seems harmless. Wasting one evening appears insignificant. Delaying one important task feels completely reasonable. But life never judges a single action in isolation. It responds to patterns. A small decision repeated hundreds of times eventually becomes your character, and your character becomes your destiny. Imagine two people standing at the same starting point. Their lives look almost identical today. One chooses to read a few pages every morning, while the other endlessly scrolls through distractions. One saves a little money each month, while the other spends without thinking. One consistently speaks with honesty, while the other regularly chooses convenience over integrity. After a week, the difference is almost invisible. After a year, it becomes noticeable. After a decade, they appear to have lived completely different lives. The difference was never one dramatic decision. It was thousands of ordinary choices quietly accumulating over time. The human mind often seeks motivation because motivation feels exciting. But motivation is temporary. It arrives with emotion and disappears just as quickly. Discipline, however, does not depend on emotion. It depends on commitment. The people who achieve extraordinary things are rarely motivated every day. They simply continue acting long after motivation has faded. Their habits become stronger than their feelings. There is another reason daily choices are so powerful. Every action becomes evidence for the story you tell yourself. When you keep promises to yourself, your confidence grows naturally. You begin seeing yourself as someone who finishes what they start. But every time you repeatedly break your own commitments, your mind quietly learns the opposite. Self-belief is not created by positive thinking alone. It is earned through consistent action. Many people spend years searching for a breakthrough while ignoring the routines that could create one. They dream about changing their lives but refuse to change their mornings. They want different results while protecting the same habits that created their current reality. Yet life responds to consistency, not intention. Good intentions inspire nothing unless they become repeated action. The most powerful decision you can make is not choosing perfection. It is choosing consistency. You do not need to become extraordinary overnight. You only need to become slightly better than yesterday and repeat that choice again and again. Small improvements may feel invisible today, but over time they become impossible to ignore. Because your future is never built by what you do once. It is built by what you choose to do every single day. After understanding that your daily choices shape your future, another challenge quietly emerges. It is not the difficulty of building a better life. It is the difficulty of letting go of the person you have been for years. Most people believe change means adding something new to their lives. In reality, lasting transformation often begins by releasing what no longer belongs. Before you can become the person you are meant to be, you must be willing to say goodbye to the person who is holding you back. Human psychology naturally resists change because the familiar feels safe, even when it is painful. The mind prefers a predictable struggle over an unfamiliar opportunity. This is why so many people remain trapped in habits they secretly dislike. They stay in environments that limit them, repeat behaviors that weaken them, and hold on to beliefs that no longer serve them, not because these things make them happy, but because they are familiar. Comfort becomes a quiet prison, and routine slowly replaces purpose. One of the greatest illusions is believing that your past defines your future. People often introduce themselves through old failures, old fears, and old labels. They say, "I've always been this way," as though yesterday has the authority to decide tomorrow. But your past is a place of reference, not a place of residence. Every day you continue living according to an outdated identity, you give yesterday permission to control your future. Growth demands sacrifice. Not always the sacrifice of money or comfort, but the sacrifice of limiting beliefs. Sometimes the greatest thing you can lose is the version of yourself that constantly doubts, procrastinates, or seeks approval from everyone around you. That version may feel familiar, but familiarity is not the same as truth. Just because you have lived a certain way for years does not mean you are meant to remain that way forever. Think about a tree in autumn. It does not cling to every leaf out of fear that new ones may never grow. It releases what has completed its purpose because it understands that letting go is part of renewal. Human life follows the same principle. You cannot fill your future with new possibilities while your hands remain tightly closed around old fears. Every meaningful transformation asks you to release something before it gives you something greater. This is why change often feels lonely. As you grow, some habits disappear, some relationships change, and some dreams no longer fit the person you are becoming. Many people mistake this discomfort as a sign they are moving in the wrong direction. In truth, it is often evidence that they are finally moving forward. Growth rarely feels comfortable because it requires leaving behind the identity that once felt safe. The strongest individuals are not those who never struggle with change. They are the ones who refuse to let their former selves dictate their future. They understand that identity is not something you inherit forever. It is something you consciously shape through every decision you make. Each day offers another opportunity to choose courage over fear, discipline over comfort, and purpose over habit. Never become so attached to who you used to be that you prevent yourself from becoming who you are capable of becoming. Your greatest potential is not waiting somewhere outside you. It is waiting behind the old version of yourself that you no longer need to carry. Because the life you want begins the moment you have the courage to leave behind the person you were never meant to remain. After leaving behind the person you used to be, one responsibility becomes greater than all the others. You must protect your mind. Every decision you make is born there long before it appears in your actions. If your mind is filled with doubt, distraction, and negativity, even the greatest opportunities will appear impossible. But when your mind is disciplined, obstacles begin to look like lessons instead of limits. Human psychology is shaped by repetition. The thoughts you entertain every day slowly become beliefs, and your beliefs quietly become your reality. If you constantly feed your mind fear, comparison, and excuses, your actions will naturally follow the same direction. But when you deliberately choose wisdom, discipline, and purposeful thinking, your behavior begins to transform without force. This is why you must become selective about what enters your mind. The people you spend time with, the conversations you listen to, the content you consume, and the words you repeatedly tell yourself are all shaping your future. A distracted mind reacts to life. A disciplined mind creates it. Guard your attention as carefully as you guard your time, because both determine the person you are becoming. Every positive thought is not enough, but every intentional thought moves you one step closer to the life you want. The strongest people are not those who control the world around them. They are the ones who first learn to control the world within them, because the moment you master your mind is the moment your decisions begin to master your future. In the end, every great transformation comes back to one simple truth. Your life changes the day you stop making promises to yourself and start making decisions you refuse to break. Many people make hundreds of goals every year, yet nothing changes because their actions continue to follow yesterday's habits. A decision has no power until it becomes visible through consistent action. Human psychology rewards consistency. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your confidence grows stronger. Every disciplined action becomes proof that you are becoming the person you decided to be. Success is not built through occasional motivation. It is built through ordinary days when you choose discipline over excuses, purpose over comfort, and action over hesitation. There will always be distractions, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But those moments do not decide your future, you do. Every sunrise gives you another opportunity to choose your direction. You cannot rewrite your past, but you can write a completely different ending by making one unwavering decision today and honoring it tomorrow and the day after that. Never underestimate the power of a single committed decision. History has always been changed by people who chose to act, while others continued waiting. Your future is not waiting for perfect conditions. It is waiting for your commitment. Because the moment your actions become stronger than your excuses is the moment your entire life begins to change.